Hey there folks, Lucifer Lake Warden coming back at you with another video. Now, for those of you who've never run across my channel, obviously from the background here as well from the pendant, I am a Satanist. My name is Lucifer Lake Warden. I'm the Satanic High Priest of the Satanic Thulian Society, which is a very small organization but growing nationwide. If you clicked on this video due to the thumbnail, you already know what I'm about to talk about, and it has very little to do with Satanism itself. I'm talking about the new Hellraiser movie from 2022, starring Jamie Clayton as the new Hell Priest, Pinhead. Now, sometimes I do movie reviews. Most times I'm talking about Satanism. This time, I'm doing a movie review. So stay with me, and let's get into it. I watched Hellraiser the other night. And like a lot of people in our popular culture recently, I've had very mixed feelings about this movie. I'm a fan of the Hellraiser series and the genre established by Clive Barker. And I've been seeing the trailers for it, and they've been revving me up. I've been getting really excited because the trailers look really, really good. And hearing Jamie Clayton's voice as, Pinhead, that monotonous, asexual droning voice was really interesting. Some of our members in STS have found that the voice is very annoying and whatnot, and they really had mixed feelings about going into this movie because, well, they're also fans of the genre. I've done my best to try to reinforce that everything's going to be okay with this movie and to give it a fair shake. Well, I just watched the movie the other night, and I have to say, I am blown away by it. Now, I'm going to give everybody a warning from this point onward. I will try not to give spoilers, but spoilers may be ahead, so if you haven't seen the movie, click off this video, go watch the movie, then come back. Because you're about to hear a satanic point of view to Hellraiser. So diving into the movie, first thing I want to say is that this film is not Doug Bradley as Pinhead. It is not the classic Hellraisers. The box is not the same lament configuration that you had in all the other movies. As a matter of fact, I will talk about that more later on. But one thing I will say is Clive Barker was one of the executive producers on this film. And I'm glad to see that he was, because that means he's put his stamp of approval on this movie, as well as Doug Bradley has voiced his opinion that he thought it was really great. And excuse me. So we have both Doug Bradley and Clive Barker supporting this film. Now, Doug Bradley does not appear anywhere in the movie. He doesn't make a cameo. He doesn't show up at any point in the movie. But what we got is we have this unique new puzzle box. Now, I'm not going to call it the lament configuration because this puzzle box is different from the previous puzzle box, which is known as the lament configuration, in that the lament configuration is just one of its shapes. It's an actual starting shape. The puzzle box goes into 6 different shapes, and the final configuration to it is one that we know as the Leviathan configuration. Now, this puzzle box, I am going to call it a Lemachan's box, because I have a feeling that this puzzle box is one of many, even though they say it's a one-of-a-kind box. If anybody knows the true Hellbound Heart and Hellraiser lore from the comic books, from the previous movies and whatnot, of course, ignoring bloodlines as much as possible in its historical depiction of Lemachan, and going back more towards who Lemachan was originally, who's very much a very aggressive mean, vicious individual who killed a lot of people. In Bloodlines, he was just this bumbling toy maker who got duped into things, and he was very innocent and forgivable. The truth of the matter is, Limershand, from the actual story arc of the Hellbound Heart and the Hellraiser comics and whatnot, was a very despicable individual. He was a very mean-spirited, he was very much like the, he was like how we would figure the Marquis de Sade to have been. He was very much like that. But he was a toy maker, and he made these puzzle boxes, and the Lament configuration was the first puzzle box. But then he created he created a bunch of different puzzle boxes that opened up doors, and he was taught by the Cenobite the Baron on how to do this. And there was a final puzzle box that is what I believe we're seeing here. Now, I'm going to talk about this really quickly. That this puzzle box, I believe, this universe can still be tied in with the previous movies, with the exception of Bloodline. Bloodline can be seen as a side film, not really tying in, while the rest of the series could tie into the movies very easily up until the final two. So you'd have 3 movies that you remove from the whole story arc just to have this put in there, and I believe that would actually work out really well. So this puzzle box, it's different than the rest, but its final form is the Leviathan configuration. And what we get coming out of these different puzzle boxes, these different ones, is different doorways and different gangs of Cenobites that come out and do their thing, take you back to hell and turn you into a Cenobite or torture you. Limershawn's first puzzle box, called the Lament configuration, was it's his most famous one. However, there is another one that, after like 20 or 30 puzzle boxes that he created a really spectacular one, which is the one that I believe that we're seeing in this movie. It's different in that it has 6 different forms. The first form is called Lament configuration, while the final form is called the Leviathan configuration. And you have 4 other forms between those, building up to the Leviathan configuration. And the gang of Cenobites that comes with this puzzle box goes after not so much the person who opened the box, but this puzzle box has a blade that comes out and cuts you. When it cuts you and your blood gets on the box, you are now marked to be taken by this gang of Cenobites. Now, Jamie Clayton comes out and, first off, I think casting Jamie Clayton was a really big, good maneuver. Jamie Clayton is a transgendered individual. She, because she is a woman now, started off as a man. And she had apparently some really great surgery done. She's a really brilliant actress. And a lot of people were up in the air about a female Pinhead. Well, if anybody understands STS, you understand how we look at things. I will refer to Jamie Clayton as a she, because she has undergone the full transitional surgeries and now presents herself 100% as female. And what is more important to STS, she is confident in who she is now, as well as who she was to start with. And she is, even though she underwent that transformation, she chose to do that. Unlike many transgendered individuals who go through the full transition, she is confident in who she is the whole way through and is happy with the outcome. And many transgenders who get to that point are not happy with the outcome. And there's like a 75 to 78% suicide rate amongst them. Fortunately, she's beaten the odds, and that's great. She is perfect in this role. I cannot express how happy I am about seeing this variation of Pinhead, the Hell Priest. I don't want to really call her Pinhead, even though she is an accurate depiction of the character from the book, The Hellbound Heart. All the Cenobites have various piercings all over the place. There's at least 3 Cenobites that I recognize from the previous series that have made a transition over to this movie, and I feel it works really well. And that's obviously Pinhead, the Hell Priest, played by Jamie Clayton. Then we have the Chatterer. Chatterer has been a long-standing lieutenant of Pinhead in almost all movies. In some way, some shape, some form, a Chatterer has been present. And there are multiple different versions of Chatterer, which has been established throughout the series. I mean, you had the original Chatterer who appeared in the first 2 movies. You had other Chatterers that appeared in other movies, such as a Chatterer dog that appeared in Bloodline. I said you can ignore Bloodline for the most part, but there's certain Cenobites out of that movie which can be crossed over, and at least one other one from that movie does cross over. And I'll talk about her in a second. And then in one of the later movies, you had a torso Chatterer that I believe appeared in Deader or something like that. And a lot of people criticize the movies after Hellraiser Bloodline as, you know, being afterthoughts. They don't have anything to do really with the original Hellraiser, and I don't agree with that. From ending with Hellworld, you had Hellseeker, you had Deader, and you had Inferno. These 4 movies are absolutely Hellraiser, 100% through, very much in line with the original movie, which, Pinhead, played by Doug Bradley in all of them, only shows up at the last minute. Excuse me. I don't have a drink with me right now, so you're going to have to deal with the frog in the voice. So, Pinhead in all these movies are played by Doug Bradley. It's once we reach the final 2 movies, there's Judgment and I can't remember the other one, are played by 2 different other guys. And they're interesting to watch in and of themselves, and at least one which is a horrible low-budget movie. It was the first one that Doug Bradley chose not to star in because they were filming it. They were pushing the whole project through in under 2 weeks, and he was like, "No, that's too short of a filming process. You can't produce a good quality movie Hellraiser movie with that short of a filming process. I will not put my name on that." And that was only due to so the production company could retain the rights to Hellraiser, because their copyrights were about to come up and it was about to go into public domain. And so, they pushed out this movie so they could retain those rights. And we got one more movie after that. And both movies they're worth the watch. Don't get me wrong. They're definitely worth the watch, but they are not the quality of, Inferno, Deader, Hellseeker, and Hellworld. I love those 4 movies. They are absolutely Hellraiser-ish. And they fit the whole premise of what Hellraiser is about. It's just seeing the Cenobites do their thing unencumbered with no ulterior motives to them as is. What we get in Hellraiser 2022 is a similar premise. These Cenobites come through with each configuration of the box after a subject is marked, and they come and they take that subject and they're tearing them apart, they're accepting them as a blood sacrifice. This puzzle box is a tool to get an audience with the Leviathan, and with that you can select one of their gifts to be bestowed upon you, from sensation to lament, your own sorrow, to love, to, regeneration, and there's a few others in there, ending with the power configuration. I'm not going to describe what each of these are because, frankly, I don't know what all of them are. It's not fully explained in the movie, but at least 3 of them are explained in this film, and 3 are not. You are left to your own figuring out what these are, but it's sort of like opening up the genie's bottle, and when you make a request, you better be careful what you wish for because it may not be as nice as you think it is. No, actually 4 are explained, so there's 2 that aren't fully explained. So, there's also resurrection. And so the ones that are explained is lament, resurrection, sensation, and power. Those are the 4 in the movie that you actually get an idea of what it is, and it's like a twisted version of what the gift is. And so going into I mentioned another Cenobite, so you had all these different things, and the Angelique character from Bloodlines also transitions over into this movie, and she's not called Angelique, she's called the Gasp. And she is, one of 3 Cenobites out of the entire film that speak. Can be seen almost as the new lieutenant next to Chatterer, who, is in this movie as well. So you had the Chatterer, you had the Gasp, who was Angelique, basically, and then you had Pinhead, the Hell Priest. Now, unlike the other Cenobites, these Cenobites are nude. They're actually naked. They have no clothes on whatsoever. What appears to be clothes is actually mutilations of their own body. The only one that seems to have any true semblance of clothing is the Hell Priest, who wears a skirt. But even her, played by Jamie Clayton, is nude for the most part. The character is actually nude. The entire design of her torso, her outfit, and everything is actually made up of her own flesh. Where her flesh has been peeled, rolled, and just mutilated into these different strange configurations. Whereas the old Cenobites, they wore these black garments, these leather-bound garments, and they were very BDSM-esque. I believe that these Cenobites and the old Cenobites come from 2 different gashes. Now, if you don't know anything about Hellraiser lore, a gash is an order, or, it is a conclave of specific Cenobites, and they all have their own unique looks. Some of them are nude, some of them are clothed. The Leviathan, as seen in Hellraiser 2, is back, the same thing. You do see the labyrinth, it is there. There is certain elements of the music from the first 2 movies and other subsequent movies that does show up in this movie. There is a lot of indicators that indicates that this movie is tied with the previous movies, but is also its own standalone film. My feelings on this film is that it is a home run. Hulu has put out 2 good films, relaunching franchises that have been lackluster in recent years, the Predator franchise and the Hellraiser franchise, and they knocked it out of the park both times. I was very pleased with their movie Prey, and I am super happy with Hellraiser 2022. And I would recommend you guys go see it. I try not to give away too many spoilers in this movie, because I want you guys to go out and see this. Now, when you finally, Pinhead finally shows up, actually, you get a good look at her about halfway through the movie, and from that point on, she is an ongoing, reoccurring character that comes in. She is very neutral in what her purpose is. This Pinhead is actually approachable. Now, if you're not marked, if you are a person who's working the configurations and can potentially get the gifts, you can actually approach this Pinhead and talk to her, okay? For a brief minute, at least. She's not going to just simply attack. Unlike Pinhead, portrayed by Doug Bradley, who was very driven to their own point, and you better have a very good deal to go with it to get him to talk to you. This Pinhead, if you're not marked, or if you have an alternative mark that you can mark, you can have conversations with these Cenobites as, per certain issues. And that plays into this movie, and I think it's really, really cool, because if you've read The Hellbound Heart, you understand that that's how the Cenobites actually are in The Hellbound Heart, that they can be approached and spoken to, and they might even just try to dissuade you from taking on their pleasures, having them give you their experiences, because once you go that far, there's, once you agree to that, there's no going back. These Cenobites are very much in line with that, but different. They're completely different. And so, yeah, it is a very interesting film. I recommend everybody go see it. It's on Hulu right now, and definitely go see it. I give this film 5 stars. Well, at least 4.5 stars. It is a slow burner. It is a very, it has a build up to it. It is how Hellraiser should be. This film really picks it up where the original picked up. Now, I will mention one final thing that I'll get out of you guys' hair. Do not expect to see Kirsty Cotton in this. This movie is a completely new story. It has nothing to do with Frank Cotton, Kirsty Cotton, the Doug Bradley Pinhead, or any of his gang. The configuration, the Le Marchand box that is in this movie is a different Le Marchand box than the other movies, and I think that's really, really good, because we've been needing to see some of these other boxes that Le Marchand created, and I've always felt that the fact that we've only seen the same puzzle box throughout the entire franchise up until now has been a travesty. These puzzle boxes open the doorways in different ways, some to pain, some to pleasure. Angels to some, demons to others, as Pinhead said in the original movie. So, go watch this movie. Don't expect it to be the same sort of Hellraiser that you saw before, but be expecting to be very satisfied. If you are a fan of the original Hellraiser, if you are a fan of Clive Barker's Hellbound Heart and the comic books, you will be happy with this movie. That's what I got for you guys today. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. And until next time, my name's Lucifer Lakeborn. Like, share, and if you like what I have to say, subscribe. And I am out of here.